Good evening, Bahamas, on the broadcast tonight.
It's a great impact on my life, and we've lost a giant of a performer.
Cultural legend Ronnie Butler dies at the age of 80. Plus, what's the game plan? The finance minister talks about government strategy to avoid a further downgrade. And Bahamian film Cargo coming to a theater near you.
Our news is brought to you by Alive, the nation's newest and best LTE network.
Good to be alive.
Welcome to our news, the weekend edition, and thanks for joining us. I'm Andrew Knowles. Topping the news, the country mourning the loss of one of its greatest cultural entertainers. Bahamian music legend Ronnie Butler passed away this morning. He was 80. His death, while sad, is also being recognized as a period of thanksgiving for the tremendous impact he had on those most close to him and the country's entertainment industry. His music is timeless and his name will remain legendary. However, Ronnie Butler's passing Sunday morning has left thousands of fans locally and internationally to fondly remember the Bahamian cultural giant. But feeling the brunt of his passing the most are his beloved relatives and close friends.
The impact right now, the family is as expected. Even though he was ill for a while, and it almost it seemed as if we knew it was coming, but you never get used to this thing anyway, right? So Ronnie is gone, the end of an era, and a major loss for the country.
Often referred to as the godfather of Bahamian music, Butler has entertained audiences for more than 5 decades, with popular hits like Burma Road, Bahama Rock, Crow Calypso, and Age Ain't Nothing But a Number. He was made a member of the British Empire and been given many awards, including the Cacique Award and the Bahamian Icon's Lifetime Achievement Award, all for his contributions to the growth and development of the country. Even a statue was erected in his honor.
I'm not sure that we can quantify Ronnie Butler's loss. You're talking about the end of an era. You're talking about a man who for 60 plus years, whose life has been the development of Bahamian music and culture. You're talking about a man who's made tremendous contribution to sustaining Bahamian music and culture. I'm not sure we can put a figure or quantify in any manner of way what his loss means, but it is certainly a tremendous loss to this country, to this community.
Both Ronald Sims and Fred Ferguson shared a special bond with Butler.
We had a very special relationship. We've gone through many tumultuous times. He brought me back when I was on the brink. When he was sick the first time around, I was here with him every minute of the day and night, made sure that anything he needed to make him comfortable, that I was able to assist and provide.
We became very close over the years. I come by his house, we laugh and talk about everything. I mean, when I am away, he'll call. He gave me, I just want to say this, he gave me his headphones a few weeks ago. I came by and he said, I want you to have these headphones. And I told him, I threatened him not to talk to me in those headphones late at night when I wear them. So obviously I meant something to him, for him to feel that he needed to do that.
Despite being confined to a wheelchair, Butler still managed to excite audiences during his performances. His final performance back in August of this year is one Ferguson will always cherish.
Fortunately, I was able to perform with him on his last performance. Alpheus Hawk Finlayson had a function that was called Guitar Fantasy, and we performed with a number of guitar players, and Ronnie Butler was the guest artist, and he came and from his wheelchair, he sang his popular songs and the crowd went crazy as usual, and they wheeled him away, and that was his last performance. So I feel very special to know that I was able to do that with him.
Popular jazz singer Abigail Shallow described Butler as one of the greatest musicians of her time. She says she was blessed to see Butler for the final time a few days ago when she serenaded him after he stopped speaking.
I looked at him and I didn't see death. I saw a glow, a peace. I saw a giant of culture, a Bahamian icon in a frail body who was ready to say, hey, I did it my way. My friend Ronnie Butler. had a great impact on my life. And I will forever be grateful.
Thank you. Now a memorial is being planned, and that date is expected to be announced in the next few days. Meantime, opposition leader Philip Davis extending condolences on the passing of Ronnie Butler, hailing him as a national musical treasure. Davis said Ronnie Butler helped us to build our sense of national identity. He said that it seems that his voice has always been with us, adding that Butler leaves a great legacy and that he is sure all of the nation feels this loss. Former Attorney General Alfred says also expressing his condolences on the loss of Butler, who he described as a national cultural hero and patriot. Said Butler helped to shape the Bahamian identity through his creative lyrics, wit, powerful voice, and principled views. He added that he was also proud to call Ronnie Butler his friend and brother. In other news this evening, with the leading credit rating agency Standard & Poor's expected to visit the Bahamas in 2 weeks for its annual review, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance Peter Turnquest says the government's game plan to avoid another downgrade involves informing the agency about government initiatives and efforts to deal with the nation's high level of debt. He spoke with our Kyle Joaquin.
Turnquest explains that the message would surround discussions about growth estimates, fiscal responsibility initiatives being worked on, and the government's overall fiscal consolidation plan.
We are very pleased at what we've been able to accomplish, and again, the fact that the market is still available to us gives us comfort and confidence that we're on the right track.
Back in July, credit ratings agency Moody's put the Bahamas' credit rating on review for downgrade after learning from the Minister administration that the country's fiscal position is weaker than previously estimated. Turnquest said right now, government doesn't even want to hear the word downgrade.
Well, first off, let's not talk about any downgrade. That ain't going to happen, right? We are managing the economy very carefully to ensure that we do not have another downgrade. In fact, you might have heard that we had a revision in the GDP numbers, up 27%. As a result of taking into account the services side of the economy in particular. And so we're hoping that will be seen as credit positive and that we'll get a rise in our credit rating. That's our hope.
He said the worst case scenario is the country's rating remains stable.
As we roll out our story, we believe that we have a period of growth coming. The IMF in their Article 4 suggests a 1.74% growth this year, 2.5% next year. And the level of investment that we see, we believe supports that. So we certainly don't anticipate any difficulty with the credit agencies.
According to the finance minister, the government is very comfortable and confident that it's on the right path.
The market it continues to be available to us at attractive rates, despite the fact that, believe it or not, being a high income per capita country works against us in these circumstances. So despite not being what they call in the index, we're able to get an attractive rate.
For our news, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
All right, thanks, Kyle. Vice Chairman of the Progressive Liberal Party, Alfred Gray, is warning the Minister administration not to repeat the mistakes of the former PLP government. Gray was referring to the government's plan to amend citizenship laws, despite those changes being shot down by voters in last year's referendum. The former MP says any changes would be going against the will of the people. Jasmine Brown has his candid comment in this report.
The former government that I was a part of had a referendum dealing with citizenship for certain categories of people. And I remember very clearly the present Prime Minister asked the country to vote no. And of course, that was politics, and I'm sure it was. But you can't be simply political. I think you have to stand on principles. If the principle was right, you should support it. If the principle was wrong then, it's still wrong now. And so I am interested in seeing how he fathoms the change of heart.
Earlier this month, Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis announced that the government will amend the law to ensure that all children born outside the Bahamas to Bahamian women automatically receive Bahamian citizenship. The government also intends to amend the law to give children born to unmarried Bahamian men and foreign women an automatic right to Bahamian citizenship. Concerns have continued to mount around the Minnis administration's plan to change the law. Earlier this month, Bahamas Christian Council President Bishop Delton Fernanda says the government is going against the wishes of Bahamians. And this week, F&M MP Frederick McAlpine warned the government against moving forward with the changes without consulting the people. McAlpine also warned that the plan may backfire. Gray shares this view.
This government would certainly see the face of defeat if they continue to go down roads which they did not intend to travel a couple of months ago, but they're now willing to travel, and immigration is one of those.
While Gray warned against the move, he did admit that he would support changes that were in line with the 2016 gender equality referendum. However, he says it's not the government that should solely make that decision.
I only know that these proposals now were a part of the referendum that they said no to. I really don't know what they're seeking to do in terms of the generality of the issues. All I know is what they're seeking to do in Parliament was part of the referendum. And I supported the referendum. So if the issues are the same, I will support it now. But this government has lost the moral authority to say no then, but yes now. Because the Bahamian people obviously voted no. I voted yes. We accepted. They didn't want it. We left it alone. But if you ask me my personal position, I supported the referendum. And I always said that.
Reporting for our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Meantime, with many varying opinions in the country on the topic of salary increases for MPs, now the country's spiritual leaders are weighing in on the issue, and they're siding with many among the general public that the timing is just off. With that story tonight, here's April Sands.
Senior pastor of Bahamas Harvest Church, Mario Moxie, joined the growing list of Bahamians coming out against a proposed salary increase for members of parliament. Earlier this month, Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis announced in the House of Assembly that he would implement a pay raise for MPs in the next budget. It was a complete about-face from Minnis' comments in 2014, while he was an opposition leader, when he said he would never support a pay raise for MPs while Bahamians are suffering.
And his overbearing need to make sure that they take care of themselves, that they do that at the expense of having to fire Bahamians on jobs, because these are very tough times for everyone. There are many Bahamians this Christmas who would be without a job, and you don't ever want the perception as though we're living off the fat of the land while everybody else is suffering. And so the timing of this is probably not right, not now. But I do understand the need for the raise.
Moxie says members of parliament serve in one of the most noble positions in the country and suggested that a pay raise may be overdue, considering MPs haven't received a salary increase since the late 1980s. However, he says the Prime Minister's timing is terrible.
These men are noble in their profession, and they're deserving of increase, they're deserving of compensation. But I just think the timing needs to be right for that. And that way the entire nation is able to celebrate with them.
On Thursday, former Cabinet Minister V. Alfred Gray said the Minnis administration should be embarrassed and ashamed to implement a salary increase for parliamentarians, considering the Minnis administration has painted a bleak picture of the country's finances. Shortly after taking office, Minister of Finance Peter Turnquest said the country's fiscal situation was more dire than expected, adding the cupboards are bare. Reporting for our News, I'm April Sands.
Thanks, April. And we'll take a break here, but still ahead tonight, the Bahamian film Cargo set to hit local theaters. That story and more when our news returns.